When your ex starts throwing shade, that's one thing. But when a famous comedian jumps in, that's when the drama explodes, and Olandria wasn't holding back. What really happened between her, Jess Hilarious, and Nick? Let's break it down. And real quick, if you like getting the unfiltered side of hip-hop drama, make sure you hit subscribe. You won't want to miss what's next. When Sierra Ortega walked out of the Love Island villa, no one expected the ripple effect her departure would create. On screen, her exit looked calm. She smiled, said her goodbyes, and wished everyone luck. But the reality behind the scenes was far more complicated, and when she finally spoke out, the internet erupted. Sierra had been paired with Nick Van Steenberg for most of the season. Viewers loved their chemistry at first. They seemed like the couple who might actually last outside the villa, but cracks started to show toward the end. And when the recoupling happened, Sierra was blindsided. She wasn't chosen, and her journey on the show ended abruptly. To fans, that was dramatic enough. To Sierra, it was personal. After leaving, she didn't stay silent for long. Just a few days later, she posted a video on Instagram that instantly set social media on fire. Sitting in her car, looking straight into the camera, she let out a statement that no one saw coming. "He wanted my friend the entire time." That one line was all it took. She didn't mention names, but everyone knew who she was talking about. Olandria Carthen, the stunning bombshell who turned heads the second she walked in. And just like that, Sierra's heartbreak turned into a viral talking point. Fans started speculating immediately. Was Sierra just bitter, or was she exposing the truth? Comments flooded her post, some defending her, saying she had every right to call Nick out. Others accused her of being petty and trying to drag someone else down. Whatever side people were on, one thing was certain: the drama had officially left the island and moved online. But that post didn't just stop at one sentence. Sierra hinted that Nick had been eyeing Olandria long before the cameras caught it. She implied that everything they shared on the show was fake, that he'd been playing a game, waiting for his real choice to come in. The connection? "Yeah, I thought it was real," she said in the video. "Turns out it was just strategy. He knew who he wanted, and it wasn't me." Those words cut deep, not just for Nick, but for anyone who rooted for them as a couple. This wasn't just a random ex venting on social media. This was a public figure from one of the biggest reality shows, calling out someone she'd been with in front of millions of viewers. And the timing made it even messier. At that point, Nick and Olandria had already started posting subtle hints of their own. Flirty captions, matching locations, and those soft launch pictures that always get fans buzzing. To Sierra, it looked like confirmation of everything she had suspected. To the audience, it looked like round 2 of the drama they'd been craving. What made it worse was that the narrative wasn't one-sided. After Sierra's post went viral, Nick responded in his own way. He didn't fire back with insults or shade, but he didn't stay quiet either. In interviews and on social media, he made it clear that he didn't appreciate what was being said about him. He called the comments off-putting and said that regardless of what people believed, he had always spoken positively about Sierra. He claimed that nothing about their time together was fake, at least not from his end. But by then, the damage was done. The internet had already picked its sides. And the drama had legs of its own. This was no longer about a breakup. It was about loyalty, betrayal, and the blurred lines between reality TV and real life. Fans weren't just watching a show anymore. They were watching lives unravel in real time, and they couldn't get enough of it. But just when people thought the story had peaked, something happened that no one expected. Another voice entered the conversation, and it wasn't just any voice. It belonged to someone with a massive platform, someone who knew exactly how to stir the pot. And that's when things really started to get wild. When the cameras stopped rolling, most people assumed Nick would take some time to himself, maybe process everything, maybe keep a low profile. After all, the ending with Sierra was messy, and the last thing anyone expected was for him to jump into something new so soon. But life had other plans, and those plans had a name: Olandria Carthen. Olandria wasn't just another contestant. She was a late arrival, the kind of bombshell that producers love to drop in when the game needs a shakeup. And shake things up she did. From the moment she walked into the villa, Nick noticed her. Everyone noticed her. She had that energy, confident, unbothered, and effortlessly magnetic. While most newcomers scrambled to make connections before the next recoupling, Olandria didn't have to try hard. People gravitated toward her naturally. And for Nick, it wasn't about strategy or convenience. It was about curiosity. She intrigued him. Their initial conversations weren't dramatic or forced. They were simple. Two people laughing about random things, sharing stories, and realizing how much they had in common. Off camera, insiders have said it was even more obvious. Nick was drawn to her vibe. She wasn't the type to chase validation or play mind games, and that alone made her different from what he had just experienced. Still, Nick knew the timing was tricky. Everyone in the villa had seen his bond with Sierra, and jumping to someone else could easily make him look calculated. But here's the truth. By the time Olandria entered, Nick and Sierra's connection had already cooled. Fans might not have seen every moment, but those inside the villa knew the spark wasn't the same. Conversations had turned into small talk. Laughter was replaced by awkward silences. They weren't enemies, but they weren't a match anymore either. So when Nick and Alandria started spending more time together, it wasn't some shady backdoor move. It was natural. They clicked on things that mattered to both of them. Family values, ambition, and yes, a shared sense of humor. If you've seen any of the behind-the-scenes clips, you know what I'm talking about. Nick couldn't stop smiling when she was around. And Olandria? She had this calm confidence, like she knew exactly what she wanted and wasn't afraid to go for it. The interesting part? They weren't rushing to make it official right away. While some couples on reality TV sprint toward love declarations for screen time, Nick and Olandria took their time. They built inside jokes. They cooked together. They stayed up late talking about life outside the villa. The real stuff that doesn't make it into most episodes. And that's what made their connection stand out. It didn't feel like a storyline. It felt genuine. Of course, not everyone saw it that way. To Sierra and her supporters, this was proof of betrayal. If Nick and Olandria could connect so quickly, then maybe Sierra's suspicions were right all along. Maybe he had been waiting for Olandria the whole time. And when Sierra dropped that cryptic video, the narrative shifted overnight. Suddenly, what started as an innocent bond became the center of a controversy. But the reality is, Nick and Olandria weren't trying to hurt anyone. They were just two people who found something real in a setting designed for drama. And as much as fans wanted to call it fake or calculated, the chemistry spoke for itself. Their laughter wasn't staged. The way Nick defended her later on, that wasn't for clout. That was personal. And if you think the connection ended when the camera stopped rolling, think again. Once the season wrapped, most couples fizzled out, but Nick and Olandria stayed close. They started posting soft hints, nothing too obvious, but enough for fans to notice. Matching locations, subtle comments, little emojis that spoke louder than words. And every time they did, the speculation grew. People weren't just watching a show anymore. They were watching a real relationship unfold in real time. But here's the twist. While they were busy living their lives, someone else was watching. Someone who didn't just have an opinion, but a massive platform to share it. And when that person spoke up, the drama jumped from reality TV circles to the mainstream. Because when Jess Hilarious gets involved, you know it's about to get messy. When Sierra's first video dropped, it was like striking a match in a room full of gasoline. The statement was short, barely a sentence, but the weight behind it was heavy enough to ignite an entire conversation across Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. He wanted my friend the entire time. 7 words, and suddenly every fan of Love Island was pulling out their detective hats, combing through old clips, screen grabs, and subtle moments from the show to figure out what she really meant. Was Nick truly eyeing Olandria from day one? Was the entire relationship with Sierra just a placeholder until the producers dropped his real type into the villa? Or was this simply a broken heart speaking out of frustration? Nobody had solid answers, but that didn't matter, because the speculation itself was pure gold for social media. The timing couldn't have been worse or better, depending on how you look at it. At that point, Nick and Olandria had been liking each other's posts, sharing playful emojis in comment sections, and popping up in group photos together. To most people, it looked innocent. But when Sierra posted that video, suddenly every interaction between Nick and Olandria became evidence. Screenshots of their flirty exchanges started circulating with captions like, "So this is what she meant," and "It all makes sense now." Sierra didn't stop with one post either. Over the next few days, she dropped more cryptic content. Instagram stories with captions like, "People show you who they really are, and energy never lies." She never named Nick outright, but everyone knew. The subtext was loud and clear. In her eyes, she had been blindsided, and she wasn't going to sit quietly while her former partner played happy couple with someone else. Fans, of course, ate it up. Her comments section turned into a war zone. On one side, you had people rallying behind her, calling her the realest person on the show and praising her for speaking her truth. On the other, you had fans accusing her of clout chasing, saying she should move on and let Nick live his life. The tension didn't stay in her comments, though. It spilled onto fan pages, Reddit threads, and even TikTok edits that dramatized the whole love triangle with slow-motion clips and sad music. Then came the interviews. Nick had stayed quiet for a while, long enough for people to wonder if Sierra had hit a nerve. But when he finally broke his silence, his tone was calm but firm. In a Q&A session, someone asked him directly about the rumors, and his response made headlines in the fan community. Honestly, those comments were off-putting. I've only ever spoken positively about her and the relationship we had. It wasn't fake, and I would never disrespect someone like that. That line, off-putting, stood out. It wasn't aggressive, but it wasn't sugar-coated either. Nick wasn't playing into the drama, and that irritated some people who wanted a messy back and forth. But at the same time, it showed a level of maturity that not every reality star manages after leaving the villa. He didn't accuse Sierra of lying. He didn't throw shade back, and he didn't deny that his connection with Olandria was real. He simply drew a boundary and moved on. But if you thought that response would cool things down, think again. For some fans, Nick's palm approach only made them double down. They started pulling clips from the season to prove Sierra's point. Scenes where Nick looked at Olandria during challenges, moments where they shared playful banter before Sierra was eliminated. Entire TikTok accounts popped up dedicated to dissecting their body language. It became a full-blown internet case file. And here's the thing, this wasn't just random fan chatter anymore. Big gossip pages picked up the story. Influencer T accounts started posting side-by-side screenshots of Sierra's cryptic posts and Nick's interviews with captions like, "Someone's not telling the whole truth." The storyline had legs far beyond the Love Island audience, and both Nick and Olandria were trending for reasons that had nothing to do with the original show. Meanwhile, Olandria stayed quiet. For now. No Instagram lives, no subtweets, no shade, just a series of gorgeous photos with captions like, "Unbothered." And honestly, that made people talk even more. Fans interpreted her silence as confidence. Others thought it was guilt. Either way, she didn't need to say a word. Sierra and Nick's responses were doing all the work to keep her name buzzing in the algorithm. But this was only the beginning, because while the fan theories and cryptic posts were enough to keep everyone entertained, what came next would take the drama to another level. Out of nowhere, a celebrity voice jumped into the mix, one with millions of followers and a reputation for speaking her mind. And when Jess Hilarious opened her mouth, the shade turned into a full-blown storm. When the situation between Sierra, Nick, and Olandria was already boiling over, nobody expected a major celebrity to pour gasoline on the fire. Enter Jess Hilarious, a comedian known for her unfiltered opinions, sharp tongue, and zero hesitation to speak her mind on trending drama. If you've seen her content, you know Jess doesn't do subtle shade. She goes straight for the jugular, and this time was no different. It all started on Instagram Live. Jess was doing what she does best, chatting with her fans, cracking jokes, and giving her take on whatever was blowing up online. Naturally, the Love Island drama came up in the comments. People started asking her what she thought about Nick and Olandria, and Jess didn't hold back. In the middle of her live, she smirked and said, "So let me get this straight. You leave a girl like Sierra, and for what? For that?" Then she broke into laughter, shaking her head like she couldn't believe it. That single comment went viral within hours. Screenshots and screen recordings of Jess laughing circulated across Twitter and TikTok, with captions like, "Jess said what we were all thinking." But she wasn't done yet. A few minutes later, Jess started going in on what she called fake villa love. She said, "Y'all get on these shows acting like y'all looking for real love, and the moment the camera's off, y'all jumping ship." Nick couldn't even wait a week. "Boy, if you don't." She didn't finish the sentence. She just started laughing again, which made it hit even harder. By that point, it was clear Jess wasn't just joking around. She was picking a side. And it wasn't Nick and Olandria's. She doubled down by saying Sierra was the realest chick on the show, and implied Nick had played her from the start. "You don't do people like that," she said, "especially not on national TV. That's embarrassing." Jess's comments instantly split the internet. Some people agreed with her 100%, praising her for keeping it real and defending Sierra. Others accused her of sticking her nose in business that wasn't hers. But regardless of the backlash, Jess wasn't backing down. The next day, she turned the heat up even more. On her Instagram story, Jess posted a meme that fans instantly linked to the drama. It showed a picture of a man juggling two women with the caption, "When you can't decide which storyline going keep you trending." She didn't tag anyone, But come on, everyone knew who she was talking about. The comment sections on gossip pages exploded. "Jess is messy for this," one user wrote. Another replied, "Messy, but not wrong." What made the situation even crazier was that Jess didn't stop at subtle memes and quick comments. She actually named names in her next live session. "Look, I don't care if y'all mad," she said. Alandria knew what she was doing. You don't just pop up all innocent like, "Oh, I didn't know he had a girl." Girl, please. That villa ain't that big. That line set social media on fire. For the first time, someone with real influence was accusing Olandria of knowingly stepping into a messy situation. Whether or not that was true didn't matter. The perception was enough to start another wave of think pieces, fan theories, and reaction videos. Nick, on the other hand, didn't take the bait. He stayed silent, even when people started tagging him under Jess's posts, daring him to respond. Some fans saw that as maturity. Others thought it was guilt. But the one person who didn't stay quiet? Olandria. And this is where things went from drama to full-on chaos. Before we get to Olandria's response, let's talk about why Jess's words hit so hard. She's not just another influencer making commentary. She has millions of followers who treat her opinions like gospel. When she speaks, it trends. Her humor adds gasoline to the fire because it doesn't feel like a serious call-out. It feels like entertainment. People laugh, they share, they meme it, and suddenly the shade has a life of its own. That's exactly what happened here. Jess's comments were everywhere. Blogs, podcasts, YouTube reaction channels. People were quoting her jokes as if they were facts. And that's the dangerous thing about someone like Jess stepping into reality TV drama. She can turn speculation into a headline just by cracking a joke. By the third day of Jess going in, you couldn't scroll through social media without seeing her name linked to Nick and Olandria. Hashtags like Just Said It and Villa Drama were trending. Fan pages were making compilation videos of her best digs about the couple, and people were even tagging Sierra, telling her to team up with Jess for a podcast episode. It was pure chaos, but the internet thrives on chaos, and Jess knows that better than anyone. What no one saw coming, though, was Olandria deciding to clap back. Up until now, she had played it cool, posting pretty selfies, sharing cute videos, acting unbothered. But when Jess started accusing her of being sneaky, that was the line. And when Olandria finally spoke up, she didn't just defend herself, she went off. And the way she did it, let's just say the internet wasn't ready. Olandria had stayed mostly quiet up until this point. While the drama between Sierra, Nick, and Jess Hilarious was dominating social media, she maintained her unbothered persona. She posted selfies with subtle captions, shared snippets of her daily life, and let Nick handle most of the public statements. But there's a limit to patience, and when Jess Hilarious publicly mocked her connection with Nick, implying that Olandria had swooped in knowing exactly what she was doing, something inside her snapped. This wasn't just another TikTok joke or meme. This was her life and reputation being questioned in front of millions. Olandria knew she had to respond, and she did so in a way that left the internet buzzing. It started with an Instagram story. Olandria didn't rant or get overly emotional. She didn't need to. She posted a short video, calm yet fiery, where she looked directly into the camera and said, "I don't know why some people think they get to tell my story for me. I live my life, make my choices, and I don't owe anyone an explanation, especially not someone laughing at a situation they weren't part of." The words were measured, but the energy behind them was unmistakable. It was her way of setting the record straight without descending into petty back and forth. Fans immediately noticed the tone, firm, confident, and unapologetic. Then, she added a few posts that subtly reinforced her point. One was a throwback picture of her in the villa with a caption like, "Actions speak louder than memes." Another was a more personal photo showing her and Nick laughing, seemingly unbothered, with no text at all. The implication was clear. She wasn't intimidated, she wasn't fazed. And the connection between her and Nick was genuine, regardless of what outsiders thought. But Olandria didn't stop there. Later in the week, she released a longer Instagram Live where she addressed the situation more directly. She started by acknowledging the speculation, saying, "I know people love to overanalyze every little thing that happens on a reality show. That's fine. But when someone starts implying things that aren't true, trying to paint me as manipulative or deceitful, I can't stay silent." Her voice was calm but firm, and she carefully walked the line between defending herself and not escalating the drama unnecessarily. What really made the clapback memorable was how she addressed Jess Hilarious specifically. Without calling her out in a hostile way, Olandria said, "I see people commenting, posting memes, laughing at situations that aren't theirs to comment on. I get it, it's entertaining. But there's a difference between making jokes and trying to control someone else's narrative. That's where I draw the line." The subtle directness of that statement hit harder than any aggressive attack could have. Jess had millions of followers, sure, but Olandria wasn't going to let someone else rewrite her story, no matter how big their platform was. Social media erupted immediately. Fans praised Olandria for her composed yet assertive response. Many commented on how she didn't ascend into the same level of chaos as others, keeping her dignity while still making her stance known. Others highlighted that she had shifted the narrative back onto her terms. She wasn't the target anymore. She was the voice of reason amidst the circus. By the end of that week, the impact was clear. Memes about Jess's shade still circulated, but now they were countered with posts supporting Olandria. "She handled that so well," one fan wrote. "Olandria didn't need to scream or throw insults, she just spoke the truth." Another said, "That clapback was iconic. She basically told Jess, 'Your platform doesn't define my reality.'" Even bloggers who had previously focused on Jess's humor began shifting coverage to highlight Olandria's response, framing her as confident, composed, and unwilling to be undermined. What's notable about this moment is how it changed the dynamics of the drama. Up until Olandria spoke out, a narrative had been largely driven by external voices, Sierra's posts, fan speculation, and Jess's commentary. Suddenly, the story belonged to Olandria. She controlled the conversation without screaming, without over-explaining, and without giving the haters the satisfaction of a public feud. In a sense, she turned what could have been a damaging situation into a display of personal power. Nick's role in this shouldn't be overlooked either. Though he largely stayed out of public arguments, the confidence Olandria displayed reinforced their connection. Fans noticed their interactions remained playful and affectionate, showing that despite the external chaos, their bond was intact. It sent a clear message: the drama outside the villa didn't define them or their relationship. By the weekend, hashtags celebrating Olandria's stance began trending. Clips from her live circulated with captions like, "Olandria said what needed to be said," and "fiery, composed, unapologetic." For the first time in the unfolding drama, Olandria wasn't just part of a story. She was the protagonist who refused to let anyone else narrate her life. And while some critics still questioned her timing or tone, the majority of fans and commentators applauded her ability to stand her ground while maintaining her composure. In the end, Olandria's response wasn't just about defending herself. It was a statement of agency. It showed viewers that even in a world fueled by social media speculation, memes, and celebrity commentary, it's possible to assert control over your own narrative. Jess Hilarious had brought the shade, but Olandria turned it into a moment of empowerment, reminding everyone that confidence, clarity, and directness can be more powerful than any viral joke. And in the context of the Love Island fallout, that moment would be remembered as one of the sharpest, most impactful clapbacks the season had ever seen. By the time Olandria had delivered her fiery clapback, the Love Island narrative had shifted dramatically. What started as a relatively simple post-breakup drama had evolved into a multi-layered story that spanned social media, influencer commentary, and fan communities. The ripple effects were undeniable, and for anyone following the season, it became clear that the fallout from the villa was going to be as captivating as anything that happened on screen. For fans, the situation became a real-time exercise in speculation, debate, and loyalty. Social media platforms were flooded with threads dissecting every move made by Sierra, Nick, Olandria, and even Jess Hilarious. On Twitter, fan accounts created polls asking whether Nick had really played the game by connecting with Olandria so quickly, or if Sierra's posts were simply fueled by heartbreak. TikTok saw a wave of reaction videos where influencers recreated key moments from the villa and juxtaposed them with screenshots of the ongoing online drama. These videos often went viral because they weren't just commentary, they were interactive storytelling, inviting audiences to choose sides, debate motives, and predict outcomes. The fan reactions were particularly fascinating because they highlighted how invested audiences are in reality TV beyond what's shown on the screen. For many, Sierra represented the sympathetic ex, the wronged party whose heartbreak had been amplified by the cameras. Olandria, on the other hand, symbolized the confident newcomer, unafraid to defend herself while building a connection with Nick. and Nick himself became a polarizing figure. Some praised him for remaining calm amidst chaos, while others accused him of being disloyal or opportunistic. The dynamic created a tension that made fans feel like they were part of the story, rather than just spectators. This ongoing tension was further intensified by the involvement of influencers like Jess Hilarious. Her commentary injected a new layer of complexity into the narrative, transforming a personal story into a public spectacle. When Jess mocked Olandria and Nick, she inadvertently gave fans a new lens through which to view the events. Suddenly, the conversation wasn't just about who was right or wrong, it was about media influence, public perception, and the power of viral commentary. Every post, story, or clip could shift opinions and reignite debates that had already seemed settled, keeping the drama alive long after the season had ended. Another notable aspect of this drama was how it blurred the line between reality TV and real life. Normally, viewers expect the villa to contain all the tension and excitement, with the post-season period being relatively quiet. But in this case, the story didn't end when the cameras turned off. Social media allowed fans to witness an unfiltered continuation of the narrative, complete with cryptic posts, live responses, and celebrity commentary. It created a sense of immediacy and intimacy, as if fans were witnessing the fallout firsthand rather than watching a polished recap episode. Interestingly, this ongoing drama also highlighted the psychological stakes for reality TV participants. Being thrust into a highly publicized environment, having personal relationships dissected in real time, and facing commentary from millions of viewers is no small feat. For Nick and Olandria, it tested their ability to navigate public scrutiny while maintaining their relationship. For Sierra, it was a lesson in coping with heartbreak under a global microscope. And for the audience, it offered a glimpse into how real emotions can be amplified by fame and social media influence. From a broader perspective, the unfolding tension also illustrates how the Love Island franchise thrives on post-show engagement. While the villa provides the initial drama, what keeps fans hooked is the continuation of stories online, posts, interviews, and fan theories that evolve in real time. In that sense, the Nic Olandria Sierra Jess saga became a textbook example of how reality TV narratives can extend beyond the show itself, keeping audiences invested and emotionally engaged for months after the season finale. The lessons for fans, commentators, and future contestants are clear. First, online presence is as critical as on-screen behavior. Every post, like, or story can fuel speculation and shape public perception. Second, responding strategically, like Olandria did, can shift control of the narrative and prevent misinformation or attacks from dominating the conversation. Third, external commentary, whether from influencers, celebrities, or media outlets, has the power to amplify drama in unpredictable ways, making careful communication essential for anyone involved. Ultimately, what this means for the Love Island narrative is that the story no longer belongs solely to the villa. The drama has become a multi-platform ecosystem, where fan engagement, social media commentary, and influencer involvement play just as important a role as on-screen events. Nick and Olandria's relationship, Sierra's posts, and Jess Hilarious's commentary have created a layered narrative that continues to evolve, demonstrating that in today's reality TV landscape, the story is never truly over. Each post, meme, and video adds another chapter, keeping viewers hooked and invested in a drama that exists both on-screen and in the very public arena of social media. As a result, this saga isn't just about a love triangle. It's about control, perception, and the power dynamics of online engagement. Fans aren't just watching reality TV anymore. They're participants in a story that refuses to end, reminding everyone that in the age of social media, drama extends far beyond the villa walls. Everyone expects the island drama to end at the villa, neatly packaged in 60-minute episodes with dramatic music and rose ceremonies. But reality and social media rarely works that way. Nic, Olandria, and Sierra have shown us that the story continues long after the cameras stop rolling, and that every post, comment, and meme can add another layer to the narrative. Olandria's fiery response to Jess Hilarious wasn't just a clapback, it was a statement of agency. proving that even in a world obsessed with gossip and speculation, you can take control of your own story. Fans will debate motives, question intentions, and speculate endlessly about what happened behind the scenes. But the bigger takeaway is clear. Reality TV relationships exist in two worlds, the villa and the world outside, where the internet becomes a stage of its own. For Nic and Olandria, the villa might have been where the connection started, but it's the real-world drama, the posts and the public opinions that truly test it. And maybe that's why this saga resonates so deeply. It's messy, unpredictable, and entirely human. It reminds us that life doesn't stop for cameras, and that emotions, loyalty, and pride don't pause just because a show ends. Every reaction, every post, and every clapback becomes part of a living narrative that fans can follow in real time, making the story bigger than the original episodes themselves. In the end, the lesson is simple. The villa is just the beginning. Reality TV may introduce the characters, but social media and public commentary give them life, conflict, and stakes that stretch far beyond the screen. The storms don't stop when the episodes end. They rage on, amplified by opinions, speculation, and personalities unwilling to be silenced. And as long as fans are watching, the drama will continue to unfold, proving that in the world of Love Island, the story is never truly over.